If you're watching this video, there is a very good chance you have already taken a look at another one of my videos called Pre-Flight Checks for the Right Hand. If you haven't done so, I'm posting the link below, and I would urge you to take a look at that because in that video I'm explaining the concept and the thought process behind these pre-flight checks in a little bit more detail. But to sum it up briefly, what we're trying to do is get into a habit of checking that everything is in really good working order and in the right position before we actually start playing, and that we make that a habit, that every time we pick up the instrument and we start playing anything, we go through these checks, because that will really improve our technique a great deal in the long term. Now, what are our essential pre-flight checks for the left hand? As with the right hand, it always starts with your posture, making sure that you sit correctly, that you're really resting on your feet, you're balanced on your sit bones. That is really important. Next, always make sure you are not just finding your starting finger, but you set up the entire position. So no matter whether that is first position, fourth position, or up and thumb position. So you see, I'm never just fishing for an individual note. I'm always making sure that I'm arranging my hand in the whole relevant position. By getting into the habit of doing that, you will find very, very soon that you will have far fewer intonation accidents. Now, I will give you a very simple example of just a one octave scale. So you can see here that I'm not just, starting on an open string and then putting my first finger somewhere. Yeah, I might get lucky. It might be in tune, but it might not be. So, and especially when you're in an exam or a performance situation, the might be is not a good position to be in. Yeah, so what do I do instead? I find my fourth finger, which is, by the way, also quite easy to check. See, so my whole hand is now prepared. I know my fourth finger is in tune. My other fingers are properly spaced out. And now I can confidently start. And that is a really, really good habit to get into. So always place a position from the highest finger downwards. By the way, why from the highest finger downwards and not from the first finger upwards? Very simply, because your fourth finger is the hardest finger to make comfortable because it's the shortest one. So everything else has to be arranged around that. Whereas with the first finger, we can do all sorts of things here and we can still play the note. Yeah? So the fourth finger, a good shape, will ensure that your whole hand is in a good shape. Secondly, make sure that your hand is well supported by the arm. So remember, you always play with your arms, and then we talk a lot about left hand and right hand, but really the hands are just the last part of our arm. We are primarily playing with our arms. So make sure that whatever position you're starting in, you're really well supported by the arm. And a good starting point to check is that your arm is actually straight. If you're in any way like that or like that or like that, you won't be supported. Yeah, so just check that, and you should feel really well balanced. You should feel the weight of the arm. You should have no trouble pressing the string down. Yeah, and of course, very, very important as well to check that we're not squeezing with the thumb. Yeah. So the thumb should only be very, very lightly touching, much in the same way, I think I've mentioned this in a couple of videos, as if you were picking up a mug or a glass or a bottle or something. You would only be holding that very lightly. You wouldn't be squeezing until your knuckles are white. Yeah? So that is really important. To sum it up, we have got 4 main checks. We have got our posture. We need to make sure that we set up our entire position, not just a finger, that we're well supported by the arm, and lastly, that our thumb is not squeezing. Now, try, just as with the right hand pre-flight checks, try to implement this regime for a while every single time before you start playing anything, be it a scale, a piece, or exercise, or whatever. Really consciously go through the steps, and eventually those will become second nature, and that is what we're aiming for. I hope the video has been helpful. If you like it, then please smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and I would be really happy to see you again for another video.